My name is Jasmine Jones, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. You are now watching Black Girl, a Therapist in the Wild. And this little show I like to call Therapist Sips and Review. And today we are reviewing Abbott Elementary Season 4, Episode 9. And we're sipping on Kahlua and strawberry Bacardi and still the eggnog. You know, I'm not a drinker, so this is what's going to be until springtime. And then it's probably going to be gone by springtime, and then we'll get back to the vodka and juice mixtures. Oh, because if I don't drink this, it's gonna be, I have alcohol that's been sitting over there for like years because I'm not a drinker. I don't drink. So this is made out of milk and shit. I don't feel comfortable leaving this shit just sitting around for like years like the other alcohol and shit. I didn't even know if you were supposed to refrigerate it after it was open, but I just put it in the refrigerator just cause, you know, you never know. You never know. It was on the shelf and wasn't in the refrigerator when I bought it, but still. It might be one of them refrigerate after open situations. So anyways, I don't know why I'm rambling about that. So we on episode 9. We got the Always Sunny in Philadelphia folks on the show, you know, and they kept it silly, but I feel like I could break this shit down because I be overanalyzing that Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, the things I say are my opinion. I could be wrong. I feel like I'm not though, but I could be wrong, but it ain't though. It's so hard to say that you're wrong. That's the Aries in me. Like, I'm probably not though, but you might feel that I'm wrong and you're probably wrong. But I'm going to stick to my opinions and, you know, just enjoy the review. So, they come to the school as volunteers, and later on we find out that basically this is like community service hours because of prison type activities that they was doing on their side of town. And, you know, in the beginning, like, Ava comes in, she's talking about the volunteers coming in and all this other stuff. And like, I feel like Melissa might have came out a little bit. I was like, Melissa, girl, we coming out, girl. Cause, what's his name? Jacob was talking about how he wanted the volunteers to help with the vents in his classroom and how sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, depending on where you sit at, and how it was like a whole Goldilocks situation. So Melissa gonna go, I'll tell you what, if a little girl came up in my house and I found her sleeping in my bed, I'd eat her ass. And everybody just looked at her. And then she was like, no, if I was like a bear, and everybody just still like a animal bear. And Girl, that's the stumbling blocks people stumble over when they got some other shit going on, you know, and they don't want to come out yet. Like, let me know. We can have a celebration. I can go get us some rainbow cupcakes and shit. Go, girl. You live in your truth, girl. Would not be surprised at all. But anyway, so the volunteers come, and it's the two brothers and sister, and the little friend with the issues. They all got issues, but he got some shit going on. He got like a delay or some shit. And they come to the school to volunteer, right? So, okay, the oldest brother, he doesn't want to be in front of the camera. I call him the full American Psycho. Like, if you've seen American Psycho and the sociopathy, narcissistic shit going on in that, I've always thought the older brother was like a narcissist sociopath. I would not be surprised if there were not bodies in the basement. Like, I would not be surprised if he was doing some nefarious shit that was even worse than what happens on the show. And we just come out and show it and shit. And it did not surprise me that he didn't want to be in front of the camera. Now, in reality, he could be having to, like, you know, what is it, appointments, schedules collide, and he might have had some other shit he had to film, so he couldn't be on camera all the time, so they just use it as a moment to show, you know, that he's got some shit going on and he doesn't want to be on camera. But like, I feel like each character on Always Sunny is a representation of the worst of white culture, and they are trying to tell us something on that show about white people. And if you just watch it and recognize what's going on, like, you'll get it, and you'll be like, because a lot of people, especially black folks, are like, oh, that show's racist, or oh, that show's, you know, stupid and corny and da 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 da. you can't watch it like it's a real comedy. You gotta watch it like it's a documentary on white culture. And then it's like, oh, white women do be doing shit like that. Oh, white men do be just randomly doing whatever the fuck they want to do and thinking they're gonna get away with it and all this other shit. And most of the time do get away with it and all that shit. That's why we got 20 years worth of episodes of these niggas just doing the most randomest, illegal, evil shit and getting away with that shit. And so this is like a commentary. So you got one that represents the white narcissist sociopath male, because most serial killers are white people, are white men. And most serial killers are narcissists, are sociopaths. And so we got that representation there. Danny DeVito's character is like a representation of white people's lack of hygiene. You know, that we don't bathe our legs. We only take one shower a week. We use the pool or the lake water in the summertime as our bath people. Cause he be doing the grossest shit. I think at some point he lived in a sewer. Like Master Splinter, but I think, you know, Master Splinter is cleaner than that. He lived in a sewer, or he was in a sewer or something, and it was gross and disgusting. He's be doing the grossest shit on that fucking show. And I feel like he's a representation of, yes, white people are this gross when we're at our worst. Look and pay attention and clock it. Then you got like the younger brother. Are they brother? They're both brothers. Then you got like the younger brother, and he's like, I feel like he's the representation of the mask that white people put on to try to act normal and shit. Like he was trying to help Ava around the school. He was trying to do all this random stuff, but he always has a means to an end. So even his kindness is fake. It's for a reason. His goal was to get her to sign them volunteer papers early so they didn't have to do the volunteer shit all week. So he's showing white fakeness and fuckery. And then you got the little friend that has some kind of delay or some shit. I really feel like he is the representation of white poor people. Like how these white hillbillies be in the South voting for Trump, doing all this random shit, hating black people and all this other shit, but don't understand that the people you voting for, the people that you pedestalizing, the rich white people don't give a shit about you. They look down on you just as much they look down on everybody else that ain't rich and white and a man. So I just feel like, you know, he represents that to the point where like he don't even know how to read and shit. Like, why did that escape y'all? Because he showed that he was different within the white community, and so they didn't pick up the slack to do anything to help this man learn how to read. Like, and there's not a lot of consequences that he's receiving for not being able to read. Like, he's not homeless. In reality, he's not in severe poverty, and he gets to just move through life and do whatever the fuck he wants without learning how to read. So that's another example of white neglect, where you just in your own communities will let niggas fall by the wayside and make fun of them and shit, but there's no real consequence. Like, you don't actually try to help your own people to a certain extent. And so I feel like he represents that faction of like white supremacy and shit like that. And then you got the woman, the white woman, D. And like, she is a representation of white women that cater to white supremacy and white males. She gets made fun of all the time on this fucking show. Her brothers hate her. But she always like, at the end game is always to kiss their ass and to like come ahead of them and shit like that. And like, that's what she lives her life on, is being seen as enough. And that's how a lot of these white women are living their life, because they are the lowest on the totem pole in white people land. Well, maybe white children are, because they hate children. Like, people don't be caring about kids like they supposed to. I was gonna say white women though, because like they are the lowest on the totem pole. They are the ones most like white men will disrespect first, because they're usually in their home with them before they go outside and disrespect everybody else. And they start to feel the need to cater to this behavior, because they look at how the white men treat everyone else, and you're like, well, you treat them worse than you treat me, so you know, at least I get to live in this nice house while you hit me in the face. And she showed how easily white women will switch up on you when they want to get ahead, when they get jealous of you or feel like they deserve something that you don't deserve. Like low key, they didn't say it, but I feel like she the white bitch that thinks she's better than the black bitch and deserves her man. Like I feel like she's that type of white woman. Now, this is not a generalization of like a whole people. This is just like a like cultural commentary, because these things, these narcissistic, sociopathic things, have been bred into white culture from intergenerational trauma of power and control and taking over people's countries and killing and massacring people in front of their own children. They'll do this. Like they would have picnics where they would hang niggas from trees and the children would just be there watching and shit. So you traumatizing your children ever since Rome tried to take over Europe. Then we had the Crusades and you tried to kill all the Muslims and shit. Then you colonized the world and tried to kill all the people of color in all their countries. And then you had slavery and took away a whole generations worth of culture from multiple people from various different countries in Africa. And then you killed off all the damn near killed off all the natives in America and shit, and then tortured their people in these little concentration camp schools and killed them kids and shit like that. And then we had segregation where you separated yourself, but we weren't separated because every time we tried to rise above in our own little space, you always, like any abuser would, you can't leave your victim the fuck alone, and you wanted to come over there and burn our shit to the ground like in Tulsa. So, like this narcissism and sociopathy is a trauma response, and trauma can get passed down genetically via epigenetics. Epigenetics means that basically when the person is pregnant and they're going through some kind of trauma or stress while they're pregnant, the baby will have higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol. So they'll be amped up at birth, which makes them more susceptible to being traumatized and having mental health disorders if they're born into a chaotic environment. Now, the studies also show that if you're born into a peaceful environment, a calm environment, the cortisol levels can actually lower and the child becomes less susceptible to mental health issues. So don't be like, oh, I've been traumatized so I can't have kids. No, just if you don't want to have kids, just don't use trauma as a fucking excuse, because you could change that if you wanted to. You don't want to. And so that ain't got shit to do with me. But like that's changeable. That's fixable. But so these white people got thousands of years, generation after generation of pillaging and killing and destroying. So that's what this is a commentary on. You've bred narcissism and sociopathy into your culture. That's why you have a show like Always Sunny in Philadelphia where these white people will just bombard you, and that's what I hated about the show too. Like, I don't like being bombarded and being made to feel like I'm being forced to do something, and they'll just go into people's environments, and if they want something, they don't give a fuck what you say, what you do. They will bombard you and feel entitled to taking what you want, what you got, and eventually they get it. And there's never any real consequences for these niggas. There's never any real consequences that are long lasting. We don't have an Always Sunny from prison. Like, they're just in prison the whole show. There's no consequences for these niggas. Like, they was putting like objects and cars and shit into something, and that's how they got community service, and they only ended up with community service because of that. They didn't go to jail. So it's like that, like, so that's what I feel like that show is a commentary on. Like, you got Danny DeVito over here helping Gregory with his garden. This nigga over here telling him to put batteries into the ground, like, and then like he telling him to do gross shit, like put piss on pelts and lay it around the garden. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not something that wouldn't work, but I am going to say that's like a little school garden, honey. Like, kids play over there, and why you put in piss blankets around where the children play, and stuff like that. Then the nigga, he put pepper and garlic powder into the soil to deter the raccoons because I guess it's hot or whatever. And this nigga gonna sit up here, sneak into the garden and eat the dirt and the compost because he's just a gross individual. And I just feel like Danny DeVito is trying to show us something. He's trying to show us something here, okay? Because I don't think he's like this in real life, okay? I don't think he's like this in real life. I think he's trying to tell us something about his people, y'all. Then we go over here and this nigga following Ava around trying to get her to sign this volunteer slip, doing every little chore he can do to get her to sign this volunteer slip and shit like that. And like, he's also the henchman to the older brother, basically. So the older brother is always the one doing the insanity type shit, and he'll be like the henchman, or he'll be in competition with the older brother. So he's in this place. He's already kind of like a people pleaser, so it makes sense. But also, there's just this narcissistic tilt to it where if I do this, she gonna sign this, and we can get the fuck up out of here. So I gotta make myself look the best person I can look. And anybody got time for that? She signs it at the end of the week, as she should, and then she decides not to keep him because he was being too nice to the teachers and telling them thank you or whatever, you know. And then we got, you know, nigga over here, the little friend. Like, so the teachers find out that he's illiterate, and they band together to get him to be able to read a sentence. And that's a beautiful thing. Like, people of color always banding around these broken down white folks to help them through their shit. Is he gonna come back and help you through yours? I'm not saying don't help people. I'm just saying keep in mind what they do. And if you are just doing this out the pureness of your heart, that's magical and wonderful and great. But don't expect anything in return. I don't help white people with any expectation of getting anything from them, because either they don't do it, they don't give you anything in return, or they give you some shit in return and then they like, there's conditions. And I don't have it. I don't have it for you and your conditions and your white conditions. I'm not saying all white people are like this, but like, if I'm gonna do something nice for a white person, it is really truly out of the kindness of my fucking heart. I expect nothing from you. And then you got D over here with Janine, and they're bonding at first. Oh, you went to Penn? I went to Penn too. Da 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 da. Just for that nice white woman. It's like the white women you meet when you first start a new job, and they're nice in your face, and they try to, you know, get you to be a part of their little thing situation. And then later on, they slowly start to show their true colors. And it's like whiplash. You don't know what the fuck happened. So like, she was nice to her in the beginning. They were bonding. They both got big feet, all this random shit. Then by the end of the day, this white bitch was in love with Gregory and wanted to be with Gregory and was like trying to be in competition with Janine. And I was just like, is she supposed to be like the white bitches that be all like, I could take your man. That's why your men love us. And but I think she is. They just didn't want to say it. But this is like, I see you have something I don't. And this thing cares for you, like in a way that doesn't care, that has never cared for me. I'm going to take this thing from you because I feel like I deserve it because I'm tall and white and blonde hair and blue eyed. And you just got to be like, okay, girl, you need therapy or some shit. The white man done twisted your head also. It must suck being in that family with them white men. You the only woman, and they probably over here making you feel like the cockroach on the wall or some shit. I don't know, but you ain't getting my nigga, girl. Like, that ain't happening. I don't know the fuck you talking. And Janine got her head all topsy-turvy, scared this bitch gonna steal her nigga. And for a weak-minded nigga, she probably could. For a week, so there's a reason why she was scared. For a weak-minded nigga, that white woman probably could take her nigga and fuck him, because weak-minded niggas are just hoes. Like, when you think of a nigga in a relationship and they cheat on their girl, and then the woman they cheat on with was like, I stole your nigga, I told you I could steal your nigga. It's not that she's saying that, oh, my pussy's better than yours, and no, she clocked him for the weak-minded nigga he was. And you didn't clock that nigga for the weak-minded nigga he was. And she used his weak-mindedness against him. So, yeah, she can steal your nigga because he's weak-minded. Shit. But Gregory's not weak-minded. And he's definitely not weak-minded for this white woman. So Gregory just let Janine know, like, no, I'm with you. Like, she was just like, she likes you. And Gregory's like, yeah. And she wants to be with you. Yeah. What do you mean? That would be horrible. He's like, yeah, it would be horrible. I'm with you. I only want to be with you. And I was like, you do. You do only want to be with her, Gregory. I you do, honey. Yes, God. God bless them and their humans. That's how we need our black men to stand up for us. Because these bitches is going to try to see if your nigga's weak-minded. So it's up to you to gauge if you with a weak-minded nigga. In the beginning, or that nigga will be coerced into cheating on you because he's weak-minded and he probably didn't want to be with you like that anyways. He don't like himself, girl. That's why I always say I need a nigga that loves himself. He needs to love himself because the way he loves himself is how he's gonna love me. You love yourself first. You love yourself before you love anybody else in this world. If you don't love yourself that much, then you're not gonna be able to love, because I love myself first. If you fuck me over, I don't care if it's been 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, I will walk the fuck away from you and be like, you cheated on me. I don't know what you want me to say here. You cheated. I told you it's one and done. Like, that's a one and done, nigga. I told you in the beginning of this, you thought I was fucking playing because I'm in love with you and shit, nigga. I can love you from a distance. Now I just have love for you. You know, that's how it switches up real quick. I have love for you, but your betrayal has taken all in love away because I trusted you not to do some stupid shit and you did. But this nigga... This nigga sat up here, he said, I'm with you. I don't want, especially not her. I was like, I know that's right. And then got this bitch back there smiling, cheesing, like, because her kink is abandonment and trying to fix her abandonment issues through niggas that will eventually abandon her. And so, like, that's a her thing. That's not nobody else thing. And that's all you need is your nigga to reassure you that he's not a weak-minded nigga and be like, I don't care if this bitch like me. I'm not trying to fuck her. What is she talking about? And actually do it. And actually don't just say it, but actually, like, not fuck her. And you know, magical. So I understand why Janine was afraid, because any other nigga would have fucked that bitch. They would have been saw pussy and been like, it don't matter how she look. They would have saw white pussy and been like, oh, I wanna put my penis in. It's free pizza. This is Keanu Reeves' movie where these little white girls came to his house and was like they fucked him and shit, and then they like tied him up and was torturing him and then like killed him and shit, and then at the end they were just like, well, why did you let us in? And he was just like, it's free pizza. Who would turn down free pizza? And I was just like, see what happens when you think things don't come with conditions? That's why you don't take shit from white people. Especially, nothing's free in this world. I don't care what you're talking about. You want something from me. Even if it's just my company, which I would be honored to give if it's just my company and that's it. But like, you want something. You ain't just giving me free shit for nothing. And so like, we got these different examples of the worst of white culture. And like, you just gotta clock it. By the end of it, like, they got a new scoreboard because there was some endangered bird on the golf course land, and Ava was able to threaten that nigga to give them a scoreboard because the scoreboard they had fell off the wall or some shit. Got this one nigga to read like a sentence, and they gave him a little mock graduation because now he can read at like a kindergartner's level. And like, that's magical. Somebody did something for him because his friends sitting up there not doing shit for him. They just let him bang his head up against the brick wall and shit. At least put a helmet on him and shit, nigga. Do something. They just sitting up there letting that nigga go through shit. They don't give a fuck about this. Like, how are you hanging out together? No, the shit they get into on this show really says they don't give a fuck about each other like that. It's just misery loves company. Like, literally, that's all it is. These niggas are miserable and they're enjoying the company of each other in their misery. And that's what a lot of white culture is a bunch of white folk. That's why we got this universal thing about family, and we gotta put up with bullshit in family. That shit didn't come from people of color. That shit didn't come from black people. That shit came from white folks because they're miserable. They built that into their culture, this misery that hovers over them because they built this narcissistic, sociopathic trauma into their culture of power and control. And like, they just be living a life like that a lot of times. Like, the worst of them, they be living a life like in this like miserable state. But as long as we're together, that's what they be telling you. As long as we're together, that's why like it's built into corporate. all these team building exercises and shit that they make us do and stuff like that when nobody wants to do that shit. All this, we're a family and shit. Like, they expect you not to say shit when you see bullshit at work, or when they jip you on your paycheck, or they expect you not to ask for a raise or promotion. They want you to just keep dealing with the shit. That's why they mule you at work and make you struggle and suffer, and say that success is through suffering, because that's coming from their own culture. They make themselves suffer, and then they make us suffer, and they bred that into the cultures of people of color, especially black folks. And now we have this thing in our families where we have these giant family gatherings and nobody wants to be there because everybody's miserable. And now, because black folks, black women in particular, are going to therapy, there was a lot of black people that spent the holidays by themselves because they could not no longer put up with that negative space that their families have cultivated, because no one else in the family wants to see their issues and work on themselves, and not be commenting on people's weight and pregnancies and lack of pregnancies and lack of marriage and them being gay and all this other random shit at every fucking family event. They're tired of it. That's why your niece wasn't there this year, grandma. That's why, auntie, that's why your niece, that's why your grandchild wasn't there this year, grandma. Like, that's why. That comes from white people. And so they live this life of misery. So this show perfectly represents a bunch of white folks together calling each other family, living in misery. And they don't like each other. They do not like the shit that they do to each other, the ways they get over on one another, the way they snitch on each other, the way they make fun of each other and just leave each other in the dust and shit like that, and don't even give a shit. Like, niggas is up here, the bitch got pregnant and shit, and they was just treating her like she was dirt on the ground. I'm just like, no, this is where black people get that shit from. They're feeling like the closer to whiteness we get, we have to be like power and control and have it all and be greedy and fucked up and shit. Like, this is where that comes from, because we were tribal, we were groupthink before they came and stole us from our countries. And so, that's why I like watching It's Always Sunny. And be like, oh, some white people come on here and be like, that's not what that show's about. They love each other. That's just silly hijinks. Let a black bitch do some of them silly ass hijinks in the real world and shit, bitch. We will be in jail immediately. Let a white man do some of them silly hijinks in the real world. They probably think about putting him in, maybe, but he wouldn't go to jail. This way they talk to people, how they be racist, how they be fucked up to people and shit like that. Like, that is a commentary on their culture. They try to tell us something. And you need to pay attention so you won't get got by these fucking white devils. Like, I moved so differently around white people ever since I seen that show. Ever since you know what? I moved so differently around white people ever since I watched American Psycho and saw that white man just moving around the city, killing motherfucking homeless people and shit on the street, and then going to work the next day like it's nothing. Like, it was like he picked up a penny off the ground. Like, that's how he was acting. Like, oh, I found $20 on the ground yesterday and shit. Like, it was nothing. And so I feel like it is like a mirror of that movie and that book. I even read the book. Like, I listened to it on audiobooks just because they're supposed to remake the movie and have it more like the book. And I'm just like, there's some shit in that book like that was not in the movie whatsoever. Like just the imagery of this nigga put a tube in this woman's vagina and then had a rat go up in this was in the book, had a rat go up in her vagina, and the rat, and he had kept the rat for, like, because he's in New York, so a rat came up through his toilet and he kept the rat, starved the rat for like a week, nigga. So this rat was ravenous, and so it was one of them giant New York rats, and it was ravenous. He put a tube into the woman's vagina, and then he let the rat run up the tube and into her vagina and eat her from the end. And I was just like, after that, I was just like, you know what? There's probably really some white people out here, some rich white people that got their basement cities all laid out, and they can afford to hide bodies and keep shit like that secret, and just out here doing shit like that in their basement city, the basements of their mansions and shit. They just out here doing that type of shit. And I would not be fucking surprised if these white niggas is out here attached, saw that movie and was like, I want to try something, and then was doing and is doing some shit like that. So that's why you gotta be quick on the uptake, because these white niggas will be like that nigga that was following Ava around, all nice and friendly in your fucking face and wanting to help and what can I do to serve and all this other stuff until they get uncomfortable. And then a switch up is real quick, just like that bitch D, and you just like, what do you mean you want to fuck my nigga? Like, what's going on? Not all of them are going to be in your face with it like that one nigga that didn't want to be filmed and you knew something was wrong with him. Not all of them are going to be in your face with it like the troll that Danny DeVito's trying to portray. And just be smelly, so you can smell them when they walk up to you and be like, be wearing an Armani suit, smell like the damn sewers and shit, and you just be like, oh no, what's going on? Like, some of them are just gonna be like the nigga following Ava around, just in your face, let me help you, let me blah, 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 blah. And then you gotta be like, oh, I'm gonna monitor this, like, and then you can clock the point where you need to set a boundary. That doesn't mean that you cut them off immediately. I'm not saying be avoidant and cut off niggas as soon as they walk up to you or look at you or open their mouth towards you. No, I'm saying I'm just not gonna be all in like Elphaba was, because that bitch gave her a hat and then she embarrassed herself at that fucking dance and then gonna end up like being her friend because she danced with you. Like, bitch, that's a card. That's a gift card. Like, you got a little card I got from Target. I put $5 in it and shit. Like, that's all you get from me. You ain't about to be, I'm not about to be like having you up under me with this woman teaching me and shit. You don't deserve that. She was willing to give up her special teaching shit. So if this bitch didn't teach Glenda, like, fuck that shit, bitch. She just gave you a hat, and then the hat was to make fun of. I'm tired. See a little kindness off topping because you ain't experienced kindness in a while. You just gonna run with that shit like that's who the person is. Like, oh, you're just so kind, you're just so nice. I used to do that shit too. And invited a bunch of devils and demons to my fucking life because they can mask up real good, bitch. Mask up and stay masked up. From y'all should look up that thread of when did you know he hated you. You know how many stories are on there of bitches that they didn't know this nigga hated them until their wedding night and a nigga switched up on them and hit them in the face. Like, these niggas will hold. They'll hold. Like, when you see one of the movies with the army and you got the nigga standing in front of the army and he's like, hold, and he's doing that to let the rest of the people know that not to rush forward yet. Niggas will do that to the demon inside of them. They'll tell it to hold and hold and hold for like years and shit. They even had this like little case study situation that happened where this group therapist, like, that led a group of abusive men, asked the men, how long do you like need to reel her in emotionally in order before you show your real self? They was sitting up there thinking about it. They was like, well, she needs to be attached to me emotionally, and I need to be the only one that she thinks about. And so I would have to do this and this and get her flowers and make sure that she's, always around me. They averaged it out to 18 months, y'all. Averaged it out to 18 months of being a decent human being to your face. That's what I'll be talking about. Watch how niggas treat themselves and other people on a consistent basis, because that's where the pattern will lie. It's not 100%. Like I said, these niggas are Oscar-winning performers and shit. But if they can, like with that woman in France whose husband was raped, I'm gonna keep bringing that shit up. What's that woman in France whose husband was drugging her and letting random niggas rape her? Like, there were points throughout their marriage where, like, there were red flags, but, like, she was just like, oh, he's just a sad man that was traumatized. And so, like, he said he wouldn't film up bitches' skirts anymore. So, like, These are the denials that we tell ourselves because we sitting up here seeing these niggas as human beings and they're viewing us as objects. And a lot of times you can't tell because you're so blinded by only seeing them as human beings. But let my nigga get caught filling up bitches' skirts. I'll leave the house the same day. No, because I seen too much. And she's older, and she was in like what she thought was a happy marriage. So you don't keep researching and learning shit about the world when you feel like you're in a happy space. Like, why would I learn about niggas and the psychology of niggas? But I'm always gonna be learning, honey, because I like to learn. I like to learn a lot of shit. So it's red flags like that like, oh, he talks down on himself a lot. He's always negative, or oh, like he be talking bad about women and shit like all the time. Like, that's weird. Or like he be gossiping all the time, or he brags all the fucking time about who he knows and what he does, and I barely know anything about him and shit like that. That lets you know, like, it don't even matter. It could be a friend, it could be a business partner. Like, you letting people into your life that are ops because you are a decent human being, that your default is to see these people as human beings. And then when they fuck up, your default is to say they went through some stuff and they're making a mistake and I need to support them through that shit. Sometimes support just looks like walking away. They need the consequence of losing a bitch. That's what they need to lose a bitch over and over again until they realize, oh, my behaviors are making me lose motherfuckers over and over and over again. Maybe I should do something about that, you know. And then some of them will lose a bunch of niggas and turn into serial killers. But that ain't none of my motherfucking business, bitch. I just know I'm not going to be around you and shit, bitch. I don't care what you're talking about. And no, I don't blame that woman in France for what happened. That nigga was evil. I'm just saying we can't control these monsters. So I'm telling you what you need to look out for so nothing like that ever happens to you. Because it can happen to men and women. Men don't even be clocking. You know how many male clients that come in that I see that start off with like, oh, like, I've been feeling really depressed lately. And then I'll ask them, like, what's going on? Well, you know, I just feel like I'm not showing up for my girl and she always mad at me. And then we level it out and realize they're in some, like, emotionally abusive situation. Or even some physical abusive situation. The bitch be hitting you and you thought that was normal. And they don't clock it because society has told them they can't be raped, they can't be abused, nothing. You know what I mean? Bitches be killing niggas or stealing from niggas just because niggas really don't believe that a woman can hurt them physically. They don't, and they end up going to these women's homes. That's why it's TikTok. For as long as we have TikTok, I'm tired. You know, I commented on this post. I was like, we sitting up here like the government really thought like they was gonna play with China. China's a world power. They have at least 1 billion people in their country. So no matter what products they sell, they're gonna make money at the end of the day. America, the US is losing out when they give up TikTok because that is one of the biggest money makers that they've had since before the pandemic, nigga. You got random people in the hood able to get out the hood because they went viral off of TikTok, nigga. Like, you gonna fuck up the economy. While China over here, well, every other country got TikTok. England got TikTok. Everybody got TikTok. We still gonna make money off of this bitch. Y'all don't want to be a part of the money maker. That ain't got shit to do with us. You want to paint us as terrorists and shit when we over here focusing on high speed trains that go all the way across our country in 2 hours and robot police officers that look like fucking tires and shit. Like, I mean, a cab, but you know, still, like, they over there making Gundams and shit. Like, they don't care about what we doing and shit. Like, this is the hillbilly cesspool of the world. Like these motherfucking Chinese are not gonna play this electronic war with you. Like the 90s had the Cold War and now the 2020s have the electronic war, and China don't give a fuck. They'll let that shit cancel out and be like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You done lost the platform and and I'm just like, The U.S. is just the audacity, the inherent, you know, epigenetic, audacity, entitled audacity of these white people in this fucking government, thinking you gonna play with these people just because they're people of color and you think that you're better than them. That's what it is. That's what it is. They hate that China's becoming a world power and they're people of color. And they know what they've done to people of color in the world, and they can only hope that the Chinese pedestalize whiteness, just like a bunch of other countries do. And now that's why they're third world countries. China ain't stupid, honey. They will take that shit and not give a fuck. So if the day come and the U.S. don't want to give it to them, bitch, they don't care. And so the U.S. better get their shit together. They better get the government better do something. And I would be all kudos for China if they wasn't trying to infiltrate Africa. Like, I need you to like build the Africans infrastructure, in the African countries that you in, so that they can take over for themselves. We don't need no new colonizers, love. Like, we don't need to. Oh my God. Now the colonizers gonna be Chinese and shit, nigga. Ain't nobody. Why can't you help build the world powers up? Why you gotta take over shit and and be like the white? You see the trajectory of the colonization that the white people have done with their consistent greediness and shit. Like, maybe colonization doesn't actually work if they just basically suck and dry the infrastructure of each country that they're in, and then leave it all fucked up and third worldy, and then control the governments and shadow governments and shit. And you losing money because these people in these third world countries ain't making money to buy your shit, honey. Like, that don't make no sense. Like, you need to be building consumers and shit. If we really gonna fall into capitalism, you need to be building consumers. Everybody need to have some shit. Like, but you taking that shit away. You suck, and now you sucking all of America dry. Like it's exhausting. I'm tired. See how that's why you got to know the patterns of these white people, because it goes far, bitch. It goes far, bitch. It goes into the way the world is run. And like, if you don't clock it in the lowliest of white person, you ain't gonna clock it in the governmental richest of white person when they coming at you and you're just like, oh, he's so nice. Oh, he has money. He wants to give it to me. And that's all you see. That's all you see. And the next thing you know, your house is blown up and you dead. And so yeah, I feel like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is doing us a service and illustrating white supremacy and the different facets of white supremacy and how it's evil and the devil, and how this is why we need to end it, because these white people really feel like they will get away with every single thing that they do, especially if they're rich and in power. And so the day that they don't get away with it is probably the day that the trajectory of that show is going to change, and them niggas on that show ain't going to get away with some shit, and then the show's going to be over. I hope it ends just like Breaking Bad in it. The bad guy got what he was supposed to get, nigga. Cause they done too much shit. Like, it's no. So, that's how I watched this episode of Abbott Elementary. Because if I watched it like these people don't know what they're doing and they actually like each other and like the content that they're putting out, and they think it's just haha funny instead of make you think, I'm going to be really pissed off that they had these people on this show with black people. I really am. So that is how I'm logicalizing this, so that I can continue to watch this fucking show that I actually enjoy. Because why you got these racist motherfuckers on the show that did blackface twice, unless they're a part of the joke too? Like, they're a part of the joke too. So that's what it has to be. That's what it has to be in my mind. So, cause I like Abbott Elementary and shit, and you trying to ruin my shit just like that bitch ruined Harry Potter and shit. Like, I wish I wasn't so literal minded, like if I wasn't so like I could dissociate like a neurotypical does and act like nothing bad is happening until there's like a fire on the hill like there is now in the Palisades and in Altadena, and God bless them people, you know, like I'm away from it. I'm a distance. I am a long distance from that, so I'm okay. But the energy of sadness that is permeating the air right now in Southern California is intense, and that's why I'm so glad my work week is over. Because they is losing their whole houses, like their whole, you know, like mainly the Altadena niggas is losing a lot of them are losing their whole lives, you know. And like they was only house rich. Like most of the people in the Palisades, a good portion of them, they was rich. And so they can rebuild quickly, like quicker than the people in Altadena. And you know, it sucks that they lost their homes and shit, and I feel bad because nobody should have to be traumatized or go through that. But it's like you probably will have time afterwards to take your time and heal just because you have a certain amount of monies. The people in Altadena will probably have to be dealing with all of this and will probably be having not a lot of time to heal for decades and shit, nigga. Like, because first of all, I was telling folks like, you better squat on that fucking land because these white people are gonna try to come and buy it out from under you and gentrify that whole motherfucker. Because that girl, get a trailer, get a tent, whatever you gotta do, and squat on that fucking land. Don't let these white people take your shit. So it can stay a historically black neighborhood. Fight the good fight. I don't care if they offer me $1 billion. There's some things that are priceless, and I don't care what you're talking about. It is. There are some things that are priceless, and a lot of them people, I'm sure, had their house paid off anyways. So like the strong-minded of us need to make sure that we don't lose any land, and we can keep passing that land down generation by generation by generation to our children, and they can have it, because land is more valuable than money. It is, because the land will last you generations. And even if you don't have money, if the land's paid off, it'll last you generations. You'll always have a shelter no matter what. And so, you know, I hope they squat on that motherfucker and fight the good fight and get their houses rebuilt for free, nicer and better than they ever was before. New appliances, new floor, everything. Care how long it takes. And none of them sell that land to none of these white people in the name of Jesus. And you know, God bless the people in the Palisades and shit. You know, there's nobody in Malibu, and nobody should be losing their homes and shit. You know, that's fucked up. But it's a lot of shit happening and stuff, and that's why, like, you ignore the shit and you keep ignoring the shit, you gonna get caught up in the storm when the storm comes, because the shit just keeps building up. Even if you don't look at the hill building up behind you, the hill is still building up, and eventually it's gonna topple the fuck over. And so that's why you can't be in denial about the things that you're seeing in the world and in people, because bad shit happens when you are. So, you know, I just hope they are in on a joke, and they know what they're doing. And like, I'm right. Because if not, you know, I'm tired. I am. You can't enjoy nothing. None of the media, none of the entertainment is unsullied by like racism and sexism and pedoism and homophobia and transphobia and shit. Like, you can't watch nothing. You can't watch shit. Like, everything is sullied even slightly, and it's just ew. So, you know, that's my take on this episode. I hope you enjoyed this review. Later days.